Hello, my loves, and welcome to the Sylvie Truth. Today is a very special day because I have a guest. Daniela Arango is in the house today. Super excited to have a chat with her about all things intuition and business and just life. If you have not heard of Daniela, let me tell you a little bit about her. She is a spiritual mentor for powerful women and conscious leaders building a magical life and business based on their soul's guidance, using their divine gifts, and fully honoring their bodies. She uses energy healing, feminine leadership techniques, and divine channeling to safely guide others to navigate their spiritual awakening, integrate a wide variety of divine abilities, and reconnect with their inner guiding system to unlock unshakable confidence. One of the things I love about Daniela is how she merges and integrates intuition and business and how to come from that inner intuitive knowing into your business. I was really excited to talk to Daniela about all things intuition. First, because we are both very intuitive, and as you know, my mission is to bring intuition into the mainstream. We talked about all things, of course, intuition, inner healing, and branding, and confidence, and honoring your truth, and speaking your truth. And we even touched on the fear that women have about being seen. And she even gave us a practical tool and tip to move from that fear into the expression of who you truly are. So without further ado, here she is, Daniela Arango. I'm super excited to have another intuitive sister here in the house, the Sylvie's Delice Truth, so that we can get to know more of Daniela and her own truth. And I'm so excited that she's here, like really excited. So welcome, sister. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much. It's felt as well. I'm really honored and really excited. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yay. Well, the first thing that I want to ask you and I want to kind of delve into is, what was it like for you as in your childhood? With the whole intuition, intuitive gifts, like, did you have experiences? Did it start then or did it develop for you later on?
It's so interesting that you ask this question in this moment. And I guess we're just going to dive right in.
Let's dive deep. That's
Um,
just how we roll here.
love it. Because I was actually doing some inner child work today, and I was seeing how we have a stages of forgetting, right? We come here in this earth and we kind of forget who we are, and we can only truly know in full awareness and conscious awareness of who we are to the depth of our own awakening and the depth of our own awareness and the collective awareness as well. So it so happens that when we're moving through our childhood and our teenager years, we really in such in a moment based on society and based on the culture that we're brought in, based on the belief system that get implanted in our matrix and in our bodies, in our belief system, we forget who we are. And that is where there's so much confusion into what is this thing, you know? So I had this flashback when I was a teenager in high school, feeling so isolated, feeling so out of place, feeling like I'd never fit in, like I was always trying to put on a facade that would fit into the environment that I was in, but I was always really scared that people would not really understand me, or I was so afraid that people would like somehow find out that I had no idea about certain things, that I didn't have the answers of everything that they were asking me about. I had so much fear about what people would see from me because I felt so out of place. So I was so scared that people would feel like I was, not meant to be there or didn't belong there or whatever. And I was also tapping into every time I was in a social environment, I always felt so uncomfortable when it was like a lot of people. And I never understood why. I thought that maybe, it was something about me that didn't really like crowds or something like that. But it was so much emotions, when you are in a teenager and you are in high school and you have a lot of friends and everybody wanted to put a facade, when everybody wanted to be cool. And what I was feeling was their own struggle internally, especially as, I don't know if your listeners know about human design, but as a reflector, which is basically a mirror to the energies around me, I was feeling everybody's insecurities, everybody's uncomfortability within their own skin, like everything. I was feeling it amplified. So of course, a lot of people in an environment, it was so much pressure. It was just like basically a nightmare. And I was going back to that inner child, and I was going to that piece of me that, is still somehow afraid a lot of the times to show my full self and to not have some kind of armor to protect, around energies that are around and in big crowds. So I know that this is not necessarily answering your questions, but I thought it was really interesting that I was actually doing that work today and you asked me the question, because yes, when I was a kid, I used to be really afraid of the dark for some reason. I know that my sister was like, "What's the big deal?" And I was like, "You don't understand. I feel a lot of things in the dark." And now I understand that. Now I understand that, I was seeing things, I was feeling things, and I couldn't really, nobody really had the language to share that with me or to help me understand what was happening. And as I grew up, I, of course, again, this social interactions was really weird. And I knew that sometimes I knew when people were lying, but I couldn't really tell them, like, I know that you're lying. So it has been really interesting. But I think the beautiful piece about this conversation and what really landed for me today was, even today, we still don't fully remember all that we are. So I'm able right now to go back to my inner child and tell her, you just don't know who you are. Like, you don't really have the tools, but there's nothing wrong with you. You are perfectly beautiful, perfectly perfect. Everything is well. There's nothing for you to prove. There's nothing that you're, not enough. There's nothing of all those things that are in your head. Like, you just don't have the tools and don't really remember who you truly are. And for some reason, I saw like the quantum realities of even now a future self that is telling me, or a higher self that is telling me the same thing right now. Even though for me, it's like, I already know who I am. I feel so in truth of who I am, but it's still there is more to remember. And I think that is so beautiful about who we truly are, that it's ever evolving and infinite.
I love that. I love that. And I got so curious when you talked about human design and that you're a reflector. It's interesting because everything you just said, I can completely relate to. And I had my own experiences because, we're both, for everybody that's listening, we're both extremely intuitive and psychic. And this is our gift here. Like, we've really developed the intuitive space, as this is where we operate from, right? Which is a completely different, an alternate state of consciousness. And so when you said, perhaps because you're a reflector, I'm a manifestor generator. And for me, it was, I can feel, I was constantly tapping into everybody's data streams, right? Like, really, I also knew, like, I'm like, the person's like, this person has this kind of issue, this is struggling with this. Like, I was receiving all of it. And I feel that that is just what happens when you have such an intuitive, dominant operating system, that you're processing everybody's information. It's such a gift, but it can be very overwhelming when it's a lot. And then you have to also process that information. And a lot of people may not know how to process the information. And it could be overwhelming and literally just drain you in a way sometimes. Sometimes, I mean, it's such a variety of different things that could be happening. I was also like, in the dark part, for me, I was like, take me there. Like, I was seeing beings in the dark, seeing things in the dark. Now it's like the best game ever, right? And it's like I go towards now, but it's I love having these conversations because I can see so many of the similarities that we all go through with this intuition. And I would like to, my intention is to make it more mainstream, to make it something that is not taboo, that's something that is this is where we need to go, right? So this is where I wanted to ask you about, because I heard you and Elena, right? Elena, talking about this is in an IG live where this is where we're going. And I absolutely 100% agree that intuition, developing intuition, operating out of intuition, integrating it with our intellect is definitely the future where we're going. So how do you see it? Like what is exciting for you right now about this intuitive embodiment and really owning it and living out of that?
This is such a cool question, and the live that I had with Elisa Canali, we were talking about that, as you're saying, the future really is tapped in to such a subtleties of energies and such a somehow control of the creators that we are, because again, we have been living asleep, as I would say, not really remembering who we truly are. And now we have access to so much speed and so much consciousness that before couldn't really enter our bodies because of the density and because of our like composition. Like we couldn't really, it wasn't ready. And we have seen in our lifetime this rapid hyper speed evolution collectively, where people are really like awakening at hyper speed and really realizing, wait, what the heck? Like I'm here in Colombia and I have been here with my family, and I have been doing readings for all my aunts and all of my family members, just telling them about who they are and remembering their true technology, and kind of bringing them back to the truth of who they are and higher expressions of the truth of the possibilities that it's available to them. And
Yeah.
it's so interesting because they're so receptive. And this has never been the case before. They were perhaps receptive to angel readings or tarot readings or,
Right.
one intuition conversation here and there. But now what they're really interested in is living this lifestyle, quote unquote. And I
Embodiment.
remember embodiment, exactly. Not just, ooh, taboo, tell me what's next, tell me, who I'm gonna marry. But
Right. Not
now it's
oracle.
like, exactly. Now it's more like, tell me who I am so that I remember, so that I come back to freedom. I come back to my highest truth. I come back to who I really am because I desire it, because I now value it, because I now see what that is. So I remember this was about 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, where I got this download that the world was ending, that there was like 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 something was ending, and I really thought, oh my god, like I think maybe the world is ending. But then when I began to really speak the language or the transmission that was being transmitted, and the information that was being transmitted, what they were saying in higher consciousness, the transmission was, it's not that the world is ending, it's that the way that it is ending. There's a new earth, there's a new way, there's a new paradigm, there's a new way of operation. And I can tell you, I don't know if it feels the same for you, Sylvie, but the person that I was 5 years ago, 4 years ago, really to the person that I am now, like I am in another motor.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
The way that I integrate things, the way that I see things, the way that I evolve, the way that I grow is just hyper speed nowadays. So when I had received that download of, the world is ending and there is a new world coming, I was like, I wonder how all of this, and then all of a sudden COVID hit, and all of a sudden, lockdown, and all of a sudden all the things. And, governments going down, like so many things that have happened in the last few years that it's just, crazy. And it's not that it's crazy in the speed in which it's happening, like the veil is lifting so fast. And what I think is exciting about the times that we live in right now is that there's a choice, and there's always been a choice, but even now the choice is so undeniable. What is that choice that we have? Is that we have the choice to remain living as the smaller self that we've been encapsulated ourselves in. We have the choice to continue to live in the house that we've been living, in the self that we've developed so far, the person that we've been. Or we have a very important choice right now to begin to choose no confinement at all. Because a lot of the times when we feel, oh, I want to be a highest version of who I am, we think, let me think of a bigger house. But the highest self and the technology that I'm talking about in this new earth, it's not a bigger house. It's no house at all. It's just, it's potentiality. It's quantum reality. It's opening up to being all that we can possibly be without confinement of definition.
I love
So,
that. Yes, I agree 100%. I agree
so I think
100%
it's
because I
super
feel that
exciting.
because we're letting go of identity. The truth is,
Exactly.
and you and I both know that our true essence and the core of who we are has no identity unless we want to give it some. We get to choose. We get to be the creators of that expression, right? So I love that. I love that. I love that you're excited about that, first of all, because that means that more of that intention is going to be heading towards the manifestation or the experience of that kind of world, which is amazing because people are so suppressed and they feel so confined in some sort of identity that they might not even have created it. It has
The
been,
small self, yes.
yeah, like completely just imposed or embedded on their being. They're like, okay, I believe it. I guess that's who I am, or that's who I need to be in order to be loved, accepted, validated, or whatever it is, right? I love that. So how do you see in your work, how do you want to or kind of plan on fueling that, like that intention of where where we're going and how excited you are about this? Like, what's something, what are you here to intentionally be a co-creator part of this new reality that we're all building together, right? Because as we all are waking into a higher, bigger picture reality, right, we are all remembering why we're here and what our individual sort of mission, work, lesson, whatever it is that you're here to experience and also contribute. How do you feel about that for you?
Yeah, and I think this is so beautiful because, as I said, this is what's happening collectively speaking. And then there is that choice. And then more and more and more, as I mentioned to you, I see people making those choices, people that I've never thought would make those choices. And what happens as a ripple effect of either even just making the slightest shift, the slightest move towards that new paradigm immediately means that their intuition has kicked in. That somehow, without even knowing, they had already tapped into a piece of themselves, which the intuition is really connected to our bodies. It's very somatic a lot of the times. The psychic abilities, or the, as I call it, the advanced settings of the psychic abilities, they're very mental and they're very energetic. But when it comes to intuition, I find intuition to be very, very somatic. So when somebody makes the slightest tilt towards this new paradigm of tell me more about who I am, because I want to remember, I want to realign, I want to choose again, but from conscious awareness of what I'm choosing. That means that their intuition has somehow broken through. And I think that's the thing that people don't understand about intuition, that feel like they have separated from it at some level. And it's like you're never separated from it. It's just a voice that you just repress. It's a voice that you just don't, you know it. Because, if you ever talk to somebody and you're like, oh, you know what to do, right? And it's like, I know what to do. I know what to do. So, the intuition is always that voice, but it's that voice that has been repressed as a result of self protection, self protective mechanisms, fear, scarcity, whatever um, programming we're operating under. So the interesting piece about the psychic abilities and removing the taboo and all of this is like, I don't even think there's any work to do around the taboo of these things. I think what it really is, our work, for those of us who are so familiar with our intuitive abilities and so familiar with our psychic abilities as well, is to just talk as if there's nothing to really move through or break through. It's just who you are, and it's a natural evolution of the person that you're becoming, because it's like things are coming back online. So I feel like for people now, the conversation shouldn't be about let's remove the taboo. The conversation should be about how do you use this now that you have activated to continue to walk the path that you're walking already.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that leads me to, I would like to know from right as you said this, give me a very simple explanation from your world what it looks like to operate out of intuition, because you and I can like geek out on all this like divine channeling and all of that intuition brings about. It's our life. We've been living it. It's like day to day. It's multidimensional travel, sure. But most generally the population is still stuck in that intellect, right? But they're like, how do I do it? But like, what does it look like? And whenever we speak about anything like this, it's always, I always hear the intuition is like, oh, I have a hunch, that's it, and it stops right there. I have a hunch, or maybe like just on a synchronicity level that, oh, you know what, I thought about you and you called me. Yes, but it sort of ends right there. So I'd love to hear from you. What is your life like with intuition? To walk me through some of like the things.
I think, as you're saying, where people think about intuition is like those two things, like synchronicity, which is not necessarily intuition, but it's more about the conscious awareness of where the energy is playing and the decisions that they're making. And this other thing about the hunch, I feel like that's more the intuition piece that they're speaking about, because when it comes to the intuition, it's a natural ability to follow mind, body, and soul right there. So what does that mean? Is when the body and the mind and the soul are in the same
in alignment
place, in alignment. Exactly. So how do I follow my intuition? Is a lot of the times following my intuition means following my body and following where not necessarily where my intellectual is, but where my mind, in terms of the relaxed neutral mind, wants to take me through, and also what my soul is saying at the same time. So what it could look like in a day-to-day is like, if somebody invites me somewhere and that just feels restrictive in my body, I am no longer saying, oh yes, just to please other people, but I'm actually listening to the voice that is speaking, that my body is speaking, that's saying, maybe not, maybe you need rest. So it is as simple as that. I feel like the word intuition has so much in it, but it really is where my body, where my mind, and where my soul is, in making decisions in accordance, in alignment, in honoring of all that I am. So how does it look like to live alive in intuition? It's very simple. It's really beginning to listen, which is the thing that I think the answer that people a lot of the times don't want to listen to. which is like, it's listening. It really is starting to listen to your own voice rather than listening to the voice outside of yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was just talking about this with my mom, actually, about the gotta trust. Is not like you listen, then you trust. Like, I don't question it. I don't, because the moment you begin to question is the road of judgment, the intellect, analytical processing, all that jazz, right? So I receive it, I trust it, and then I execute, like I honor it. And I feel that it's so amazing to be able to become a little more comfortable and in the habit of operating from that space, because I feel like it's the other one, when you step into that intellect and that judgment, that inner critic that begins to question everything. This is where doubt comes in, and it is just a product of that intellect. So absolutely, this is why I called the podcast the Sylvie's Truth, because we all there's a collective truth we all agree to until we don't. But I do believe that we all have our own individual perspective or personal experience, right? We interpret reality in a specific way. And so then you kind of come up with this and you channel this truth that you have at that moment. And it might be just for you at that moment because you had this personal experience. And so listening to that inner voice, and this is, I'm super into right now, really talking about and sharing about the unique path that we all have, because I feel like we live in right now in still in a world that is the comparison, that everybody kind of goes in this way and you want to live up to that. However, but what if that's not your design? That's not your path. That's not your lesson or your mission. And so breaking out of the culture, breaking out of the family systems, breaking out of the just societal systems, all of the systems that are telling you this is the way to do it. And what I'm so exciting about, for example, what you are doing right now with your work, with your body of work, and is empowering the women, or being a role model and a leader into find your unique, you have a unique path, and you have to find that voice, listen to that voice and listen to that, honor that, and go live your life, your individual life, right? Because otherwise I feel we all get to a place of exhaustion of being someone we're truly not, right?
Yes. Yes.
So what have you noticed with all your clients, or even in your life, with the women in your life? What would be the one thing you would tell them about trusting and carving that individual path, about this topic in particular, of to really listen to yourself and honor yourself? And just anything about, there could be the repercussions, it could be like, this would be a good support, anything that comes to you in regards to that.
Here's the interesting piece about all of this is that, to the contrary of how our mind works, psychic abilities and intuition, they're not hard. They're actually very straightforward. And once we go on that path of unlocking and unblocking all of those things that are suppressing your expression and your awareness of who you are, it's actually really easy. Intuition is extremely easy. It's very simple. Like this divine technology that is impregnated in our system, it's actually the easiest thing ever. We actually operate harder than it's meant to be. So intuition is not hard, and psychic abilities are not hard.
Agree.
What is
100%.
hard is what is hard is trust, because is choosing over and over and over and over and over again the unknown versus the known. It's over and over and over and over at operating at the edge of evolution. which is one of the things that I talk about in one of my works, in one of my masterclasses that I taught, that's called disruption. It's when we really truly accept the fact that who we are comes really easy to us, and who we truly are, it's innate. And who we are, it's easy, it's innate, it's powerful, it's enough, it's magical. Once we're in that space, we experience disruption in all areas of our lives, because all of a sudden everything begins to adjust and break through, basically, as a ripple effect of who we're being. So, but the thing is that it requires from us to be at the edge of evolution. What does that mean? It requires courage, and it requires confidence, over and over and over and over and over again. We can't really not have courage or confidence. And I know that a lot of the times you say, but I lack confidence, I lack confidence. And what I say with confidence is build evidence. And confidence is not something that you necessarily, in my opinion, is not necessarily something that you do develop it, but it's something that you choose. Courage and confidence in something that you choose, and the more you choose it, the more evidence you have about it, and the easier it becomes to choose it every single day.
Do you believe that people sometimes are born with a more developed confidence, or with just confidence? Because I actually get this a lot, where people are like, no, but you're always like this. You're always confident. And I'm wondering, because when we're in the intuitive space and we're dealing with overcoming fear, which is part of intuitive space, the antidote to fear is courage. So we use courage all the time, regardless what we're feeling. We gotta keep going and gotta face it and all that jazz. I feel that with a habitual sort of practice of doing that, you do build more confidence, because you start to get evidence. You're absolutely correct. You start to get evidence, and you start to realize, wait a minute, this is happening, and it's not how everybody does it, but this actually feels great and it works. But then there are those people who say, and I've said it to me, no, but you've always done this. So I'm wondering which one comes first, the chicken or the egg, to those who, for example, now after 30, they're like, oh, I don't feel that confident right now. I've never really felt that confident. First of all, something's coming in right now where I just have to say, for anybody that's listening out there, and Daniela, you said it at the beginning, even when we're feeling confidence, all of us, doesn't mean that we don't have fear or feel fear. I want to say that, because I was just feeling at the same time like how I was feeling like in the past. And you said that, you were feeling all these things uncomfortable because of all the things that were happening when you were a teenager, didn't have quite the understanding of what was going on like you do now. And, so you were feeling all these things, yet did you feel confident then? No. So,
no.
So do you feel like you developed it then?
I think, to be honest, I think it's important to know that we're all start at different points.
Yes.
Like, we all have a very unique history, and it all is relative to the environment that we've been exposed to, who we grew up with, the culture, this belief system. Like, there's so many things. And not only that, it's, the difference between being an older brother or an older sister or a younger sister, or,
variables,
family dynamics, variables, right? So the thing about confidence is that I believe that we all have our own, as you said it, history with it. And it's not to compare, oh, you have it now, I don't have it. It's more about, like, what is my story and what do I choose from this starting point now? I think that's the interesting piece. And know that my starting point is like in business. Some people start business with sales knowledge, and some people start business with zero sales knowledge. And both people have the equal potentiality to create multiple 6-7 figure businesses, depending on their choices. So I feel like it's the same with confidence. It's like it's our own history with it. And to be honest, I like 100% speaking, I think confidence, like I've never necessarily considered myself a confident person. I just consider myself a person that does it regardless. Like I do not let confidence stop what I do. That's just I even if it feels uncomfortable, I'm there. Even if it feels that way, I'm there. You know what I mean? So it's not that I'm super confident. I
It's
have
straight up,
100% have
sounds
to.
like it's straight up courage. That's what it sounds. It sounds like it's straight up. I'm just in conviction, like you have a vision and no matter what, you feel pulled to experience it, right? Express it, execute it. And it's not about the external challenges or obstacles, but it's about being so focused on the vision, right? Experiencing the vision.
Yeah, I think two things are really interesting when we are in this path. It's like, first of all, for me, I've always been obsessed about self-development and self-inquiry. So nothing is really going to stop me from self-inquiry and self-development. It's who I am. I cannot stop it. And the other thing is, and I guess this is part of how you develop confidence, which is the desire that I have and the purpose that I get by sharing with people, by having this kind of conversations, by sharing my work with my clients, by the purpose that it gives me, and the fulfillment that I feel by the work that I do and the shares that I do are more powerful than maybe things that would hold me back.
So what you're saying is that you get so much more out of the putting it out there, expressing it, being it, right? And that feels more in alignment, that feels more empowering and powerful for you than if you were to hold back. Like holding back is not even an option because it is the death of you. Oh, I'm being super extreme here.
Yes. No, and I think it's important for people to remember that. Like, I feel like it's really important to come back to what gives us fulfillment truly, and really following that pull, because that will take us farther than, making this about just us. But I think I always go back to the bigger picture of all of this. Like for me, it's like seeing the transformation of conversations that I have with people, seeing my work really landing for people. Like all of this just becomes so beautiful and so satisfying and so fulfilling that it kind of goes beyond any other kind of little, mine and little voice that I have in my head. That is the voice that I continue to work on, as you say, as I build the evidence of this work. But honestly speaking, when it comes to confidence, I feel like it's important for us to build the evidence of that fulfillment that we get, that purpose that we fulfill when we are doing the things that we truly, truly want to do from listening to our intuition.
I love that, listening to our intuition and then getting evidence from listening to our intuition, because I want to definitely give a PS for all of those listening, that sometimes if we are doing the things that we think we should do, right? Not that we truly at the core of our being are loving, we get into these really challenging places where it's really hard to sort of jump out, even though we can jump out at any moment. So a lot of people get evidence based on all of the fears that they contain in their data stream. Like regardless, so I wanted to make a really quick point for everybody that's listening, that you are going to get the evidence for anything that you're putting out, for anything you're putting your attention to and contemplating. So if you're coming from an intuitive I love this thing, you're going to get the evidence for that. If you're coming from like fear and inner judgment and criticism, you're going to get evidence for that as well. And some people get confused and they're like, oh, shoot, but I am this whatever negative person, this that I don't, not worthy and whatever. Yeah, you're getting evidence for that because that's where your belief and your attention is on that sort of fearful, dark shadow, whatever BS that you might have bought into. So what Daniela is saying that I love here is that when you're focused on the intuitive, the part that really lights you up, that brings you the joy, and you're putting the attention there, you are going to get evidence for that. Go follow that evidence, right?
Yeah, and I want to give a very, very practical tool. The way that I teach and that I love to implement these things, it's very practical.
Love that.
So what you said is something that I said in one of my classes. I also have it in my mind right now because it's a reel that I posted on Instagram not too long ago where I was saying, and this was a masterclass that I taught actually a year ago, but the reel happened like a week ago, which was you go through life gathering evidence of that which you want to be right about.
Yes.
And you will gather evidence of that which you want to be right about until you decide and choose to shift your focus to be open to be right about something else, so that life and the universe and this entire energy can follow that stream and give you evidence of that which you're now ready to see and to be right about. So when we're making this transition of starting to opening up to be right about something else, about who we are, the important question to ask ourselves here is, when I say now I'm open to being right about this highest version of who I am, the question to ask ourselves is why, or not even why, what is the benefit that I'm still attached to when I get evidence of the opposite?
Yes. Yes.
It's important to ask ourselves, what am I still holding on to and attached to that is the benefit of what I'm choosing to be right about?
I love that.
And that's the work.
Yes. And it's really about the work. This is when you were talking at the beginning about the core of who we truly are, our highest self. It's really about uncovering. The work is the uncovering all of it so that you could be left with that who we have always been. So I love that.
And I'll give you an example about this. For example, one of the things that I was still attached to and benefiting from gathering evidence of staying where I was and not really allowing, for example, the next evolution of my business, the next increase in visibility of my work, the next stage of my independence and my sovereignty and my success. It was that somehow I had it programmed that if I let myself be too successful, I will somehow not be part of my family lineage anymore, because my family lineage had a programming of a struggle, of struggling, of working really hard, of certain programming that was within our culture. So I was still attached to that, because if I allowed myself to be successful, it meant that somehow I was not attached or connected to them anymore. It felt like I was basically abandoning them, and I was resistant to that. So these are the things that are very interesting, because we're not resisting because of anything bad. We're resisting because this is like the self defense mechanisms that we have sometimes, and the miscommunication between our brain and our soul and our human and all the things. So for me, it was really important to do the work of healing the attachment,
Yes.
releasing the attachment, and allowing myself to step into a wider vessel of all that I can be.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I love that. Love that. Because I mean, you know what? It's really about that, the attachments that we have with whatever it is. I actually went through something similar with a family member that I just released as well. And I feel, and you can literally feel the freedom in it, the freedom within yourself that gives you the permission, if you want to call it that, that allows yourself, allow yourself to step into the next level of yourself, a grander or even more authentic version of your path. I have to ask you, Daniela, I'm sure you got to know some of your astrology because you know your human design. Do you have any Scorpio in your chart?
I do. I think I have my moon in Scorpio.
Okay, because I was getting some Scorpio-ish splash vibe in there. And right now I'm totally into like the North Node because it's such a point of purpose. And so I ask everybody, do you know your North Node? Like, where's yours in? Do you know yours?
No, but I know because I have my chart here. I actually have a Scorpio in my moon and in Pluto, but I
Oh,
don't know the North
the
Node.
North. That's okay.
Mm-mm.
That's okay.
Mm.
But yeah, the North Node is such a like it's one of my favorite places to explore in astrology. It's such a great little tool to work with. You said that you wanted to step into a bigger version of yourself, and you were going through releasing a bunch of attachments and entanglings and things like that. So you obviously had also a vision perhaps of where you wanted to go, of what was pulling you somewhere. I'm curious for you, where is that vision? Like where is it going? Where are you going? What's your in
I
that then?
love that. I love that question. And to be honest, it's not so much a place externally that I'm going, but a place internally that I'm arriving at.
Yes.
And what it feels like in this level of awareness and of truth and of who I am, it feels, and I always talk about this in my work, it feels like truly landing in that steady place within. A lot of the times, and I talk about grounding a lot, because people, when we are starting to develop the higher psychic abilities and the higher awareness of consciousness, a lot of the times it could feel like they could fly away and they could disconnect from reality. So I talk a lot about grounding. And for a long time, people thought, and even myself thought, that grounding was really holding on to something, having something steady and stable that can hold me. But what I've come to realize in this path of evolution and growth and awakening of deeper versions of who I am is that grounding is a steady place within. It's grounding is not holding on to anything. Grounding and feeling grounded is feeling the steadiness of the truth of who we are in every now moment. When we're able to tap into that wholeness within ourselves, lead from that space, we as a byproduct also tap into a higher level of power that is not from the ego, that is a level of power that is bigger and wider and more powerful than you could ever imagine, because it's the truth of who we are. So for me now, landing in that space that feels home inside of myself, steady and solid inside of myself, it's so beautiful, because that has allowed me to access a new level of power and yet confidence, right? To lead my work and to lead the people that come into my world, and to take decisions from a more what's the word?
Is yeah,
Assertive, like more
okay. Okay.
assertive place. Before it's like, could it happen? Will it happen? And now it's more about, I don't know when, I don't know how, I know that it is happening, and it is always happening. So before, I think it was a lot of trying to be and trying to prove and trying to do and trying, right? This external feeling. And now it's just more of that steady place within, tapping into the power of who I am, and letting this life surprise me in the most beautiful ways as I do what I enjoy the most, which is this work, and allow my life to be fulfilled with bliss and joy and incredible surprises every day. And it's been such a beautiful ride.
Tell me about what you love most about the work that you do.
Everything. I think I don't think I know that I love everything. I love connecting with people. Because I think, again, as a reflector, it's so beautiful to reflect back different people. Like, every single person that I meet is a different experience. Like, how magical is that? So I love conversations like this. I love to reflect back into, especially for me, when it comes to leadership, I don't necessarily love telling you what to do. I love listening to you really carefully and being able to bring clarity to what you just said. So it's never about bringing anything new to the table, but it's about bringing clarity to the table. And I love that. I love being able to read the energies, to listen to what you're actually saying, to bring that clarity to the table, because it also gives me clarity and gives me ability to tap into new things. So the transformations, the breakthroughs, the connection that I get to have with my clients, the love, the challenging moments, I think I love everything. There's not a piece that I'm like, and the piece that was not the systematic piece, it's now my team handles that, so I don't even have to worry about that. So now everything that I do in my business is such a joy.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. I mean, and I can feel that. I can feel that you're just so into it and you love it, and it comes through. It comes through. I have two more questions. One's about branding, because you are such
Yes.
a beautiful expression of branding, period. Like your brand, at least for me, your branding is it just absolutely, from the visuals to the copy to just you, like the way that you present the whole thing. And I saw the transformation from before to what it is now, and I love the transformation part. I would love to know a little bit, like, it's just simple things of your process when you went from, you know what, I'm feeling a shift, I'm feeling a rebrand, and here I go. Okay, so then right there, like, what was your process like to where of what you've got going on right now that is just like delicious? Well, at least for me,
Thank
I
you
love
so
it.
much. First of all, this just means so much to me. It's like, I'm so proud of the work that we've done, me and my team, and the whole evolution of the brand. We're so proud of it, and to know that it lands, and to know that it's felt, and to
For
know
sure.
that it's recognized. Like, thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. It's again, one of my favorite things about the business is branding. And I went to school for graphic design and advertising, and never finished though, but I loved graphics, and I love design, and love marketing, and I love the branding piece of marketing. So
Totally your gift,
so
by the way. Totally your gift. You could
thank
see,
you.
like, it is exquisite. At least for me, it really resonates, and I love it. Love it.
Thank you so much. I think for me, I do allow myself to play with it a lot, although, I'm a Virgo, and so I have my perfectionist tendencies, but I do allow it to come through. So what has never changed has been my logo. So ever since we opened the company 3 years
Yes.
ago, we've always had the same logo, because I decided to have a logo that was something that would never really change, basically, although, some of my clients have changed logos, which is no problem, but I wanted to have something that it's like, because it's a reflector and I changed so much, I wanted to have something that were always like the foundation of who I was. So I knew that spirituality was a word that were never going to go away. The spiritual guidance is basically the truth of who I am. So That was never going to go away. And the logo remains the same, but the branding, the look and the presentation and the way that it's marketed, the way that the personal brand has developed, it's completely different now. And I think the cool thing about branding, especially personal branding, it's what I'm speaking about,
Yes,
is
yes,
that there's always a new level of us.
yes.
So my work gets to be witnessed through my own brand evolution. And it's never like, oh, this is old, let's change it. For me, it's always like, when we do a new photo shoot and something new comes through, I allow myself to release that which is coming through. I never know what is like, it's never like, okay, it's going to be like this, it's going to be like this, it's going to be like this. It's more about like, I know there is a new level here and I am excited for it to come through and for us to be able to put it together in a way that is felt. So the cool thing about branding is that if we allow ourselves, our brand will always show us new levels of evolution. I get it. Seriously, like in awe every time we do, like we reach a new level. I didn't even know how that was even possible. But it's because the more I do this work and the more I allow myself to be myself, the more myself is revealed through the branding.
Yes. Would you say that you're a visual person or not necessarily?
100%.
100%. Okay. I'm wondering because a lot of people, for example, I know people that are not very visual and they kind of always dismiss it. But for example, for a visual person like myself, it is important. It does have add this dimension that connects, right?
Yes.
So as much as I would do the same, I also like to be around people and whether accounts or whatever that give me that inspiration as well. And that sort of level of, okay, go next level. You can go, this is more, there's more evidence of that and all that jazz. And it's just, and how beautifully it can be done. I'd love to know, like, but what were you feeling and thinking and like to get from where you were at to the new brand? Like, was it something that you said, okay, the way I'm going to approach this is with tear sheets that I'm being pulled into? I really like this right now. Is it an inspiration at that moment? Is it a color palette? Is it like, I would love to know a little bit of what is the process for you? How was it in the last one?
This is the work that I love to do with my clients, and the kind of the process that we go through when we're going through branding. It's really getting to know who we are and then letting that edge of who we are come through. So what you've seen in the evolution of the brand has been more of my truth comes forward. So a lot of the times what I see when I'm working with branding with people is that I see the version that they are and I see what they're hiding. I see what they're still containing. I see where they are still feeling, those are my dogs, sorry. And they're still kind of like cautious about their expression. And I think that's the fun thing about, and especially this last evolution of my brand, is that more and more and more is working energetically in allowing myself to be seen 100%. And the more I work on allowing myself to be seen, the more this new power within who I am, the way that I speak, the way that I am, my energy begins to change and vibrate at a different level. And then once that happens, I know, okay, this branding or this color palette, or maybe the tonality of certain things begin to change. But most importantly, that's felt through the photography, because that's really the piece for me. Like every time there's a shift in the brand, it's because we have a photo shoot and I feel that the energetics of who I'm being in that photo shoot, it's yet that another expression of being seen, another expression of that leadership. So I think branding is such a unique, beautiful journey that we get to do, and I get to do with all my clients, but it's very unique to every single person. And I do have a gift, and I know that because this is the work that I do with my clients, is being able to see the gap in the bridge and being able to know how do we bridge that to allow the brand to take its own identity. Because at the beginning, the brand was me. But I feel like now the DA world is bigger than me. I mean, the identity of the company that I have, it's something that many people identify with as a brand, as a lifestyle, as a person, as
Yes.
an entity.
Entity.
And so as an entity, right? So the DA world is growing bigger than me. So it's maintaining the foundation. We're very clear about the values of the company, the voice of the company that continues to be there. But then the evolution of how that is shown, it's that super exciting journey of the work of being seen and releasing the containment or the small self and expressing into higher self.
Can you give our listeners one little tip or tool that can help them to overcome the fear of being seen? Because it's amazing that you just said that. I don't know if the last 2 days I've been seeing from many different sources, reels and people literally talking about being seen and how women have this fear of being seen and how we're little by little sort of stepping out of it.
I think this is a big topic because honestly speaking and collectively speaking, it comes from the coding of if I'm seen, I can be dishonored, I can be made fun of, I can be disrespected, judged, and to be more blunt about it, also burned at the stake. As has been for centuries, when people speak their truth and the collective is not ready to listen to that truth, or certain people don't want that kind of knowledge in the collective and want to control, then those people were killed or burned or silenced. So it is so big because it's not personal, although it is, but it is a bigger conversation of the collective programming and the fear of speaking our truth and the repercussions of what that will bring to us. So the first thing is to really realize that this is not just us, it's not just me, it's not just us, but then to begin to become familiar with the first thing. If I ask, what if 1,000 people come into your page today? What if 10 clients want to come in today? What if your entire family knows who you are? What's the first thing that you're most afraid about? And that is the piece that needs the most healing and the most acknowledged, so that you can choose again.
Great. Awesome. I love it. I love it. I love leaving people with like one little actionable step that they can just experience, because it's small steps sometimes, that we do. And instead of like doing like a huge leap that some people just want to kind of just a little bit, little by little. Daniela, thank you so much for being here, for coming. If you have right now something that you'd like to invite our audience to come and check out that you are doing or hosting, we would love to know where we can get more Daniela.
Thank you so much. This month, I'm doing an incredible collaboration with my mentor and dear friend, Elisa Canali, who is a multiple, 7-figure CEO and psychic mentor, and she's incredible. And we are doing a free masterclass around the new paradigm for healers and mentors and multidimensional leaders who are here to help this transition of the collective, and who really, it is our time to begin to not just own our psychic abilities, but own the CEO that we are, the business humans that we are, the power that we carry. So I think it's time for us to really step into that power and confidently and courageously. And this is a transmission that we're going to do. It's a 3-day free masterclass, and it's going to be so magical. And it's going to be the initiation of a mastermind that we're going to be hosting together for 8 weeks. That's called Magic School. I did a masterclass last month about Magic School. It was just a very short version of it, and it was so mind blowing. I was like, oh my God, there's so much here. And while I was telling Elisa, we decided, okay, this is bigger than us. Let's go. So we decided to do another masterclass and go deeper into those women who are ready to do this work together, to go into a mastermind. So that's something that I'm super excited about right now. Super excited, because it's work that I believe a lot of us are ready for, ready to claim who we are, ready to claim, the compensation for the work that we do, and the clarity and the ability to express the power and the value of our work, so that it can really land for a bigger audience. So I'm excited.
Absolutely. I'm so excited for both of you. I'm excited for everything you said. And where can people find you the most right now?
I have two spaces. I have Instagram. It's where I am the most. And then I also have a free, very intimate Telegram community where I am there. That's the community that usually knows things before anybody else. So it's a very intimate group, and I love being there.
Awesome, Daniela. Thank you so much for being here. Hope to have more of these conversations, and for you to keep doing what you're doing and help all the women, because they need it to come from this more sort of intuitive and empowered place from within into their business, which is a beautiful thing, so that nobody goes into burnout and everybody gets really fully expressed. So thank you so much.
100%. Thank you for having me. It's been an honor.